So you want to get your first aquarium, and the first thing you're going to do is look on the internet, a bit of advice. And most places are going to tell you to go as big as you can. You need a minimum this, you need a minimum that. But let's be honest, big tanks aren't that viable for a lot of people. And you know, not everyone has got a big old studio like me in their garden where they can just get big 4-foot tanks, possibly bigger. Not now though, because I'm at capacity. So yeah, the obvious answer that you're going to hear a lot or see or read a lot of is get the right size tank for what you can achieve. No, I'm going to phrase that better. Get the biggest size tank you can for the space you have available. But what does that even mean? If you go for a small nano tank, and when I say nano tanks, guys, I'm talking about tanks like this sort of size. So this is like 30 centimeters in length, 35, 40, that sort of range. I should probably know that before I started this. But anyway, 20 litres-ish and about 10 litres-ish. So that's the sort of size you can get. Now, you're going to be really limited in the type of fish you can keep. But look, for instance, in here, I've got a lovely, cute little pea puffer. He's just up there. Struggling to see him, I've got all the lights on, but yeah. And then in this one I've got a sparkling graham. I did have two, but it seems the other one's disappeared and the shrimp have eaten the body. So yeah, anyway, that one needs a big clean up because we've got some serious algae going on. It's just string algae, but it'll go in seconds, but still. And then, you know, down here we just got shrimp in these bottom ones. So the point is, barely any fish, mainly just shrimp for that sort of size nano. And you know, that's pretty cool. If that's what you're after, that's what you can go for. Lots of people just like having shrimp. There's loads and loads of people on Instagram and YouTube that just have shrimp. They're cool little things. You wouldn't think they would be because they're so small, but they are. They're really fun to sort of, not watch because they don't really do a huge amount, but the process and the ecosystem you create for them, the babies, the new shrimp that you get out and the colour changes, all of that is interesting stuff. So if you like small scale, then go with those 20 litres. They can be just as interesting as the big ones if you're really happy with small details. So here the tanks are as a bit of a size comparison. So at the back corner there we've got the 60 centimetre tank, about 100 litres. We've got this one at the front here which is like a 35 to 40 centimetre front, that is, and that is about 20 litres. And then right next to that, look, we've got a 4-foot tank. So let me just step right over in the corner here, get them all in shot without tripping over anything would be nice. There you go. So there's the difference in sizes. So if you're after your predator fish, you know, like real good heavy feeding, jumping out the water, that sort of heavy feeding, I don't know what that is, you know what I mean, like, you know, big fish, bite hard, jumping, splashing, that kind of thing, then 4-foot tank is kind of the minimum you want, really. But then if you're after your shrimp, like we said, you can have your little nano tanks. And then the other one that you saw, the 60 centimetre, is kind of the just absolute king for all-rounders. Right, there's several things that are really good about it. Number one, the materials and everything you need to put in it aren't going to cost you a huge amount of money because it's not that big. Number two, it's big enough for most fish that we see in sort of fish shops, like guppies and the smaller fish. They're basically, I call them nano fish. I still class that as a nano tank, really, 60 centimetres. That's like the very upper limit of a nano tank. Would you agree? I think that's right. So yeah, we've got a 4-foot aquarium there next to a 3-foot aquarium there. So we've got the angelfish and the goldfish. Now, like, that is actually a massive difference in water volume. But if you wanted to do this whole scape that I've done here, it would cost you a lot of money, to be honest. It's going to cost several £1,000 or dollars even. But, you know, if you're really, really into it, that's fine. Probably not the best starting option. And then, of course, in my other studio, we've got something like this, which is a shallow tank. I've suspended a nice light above it, white background. And yeah, this is actually really, really cheap setup. They've become quite popular, these little shallow nanos, in recent sort of years, I'd say. Yeah, like when I first started coming on the scene, which was about 1.5 to 2 years ago, you didn't see many shallows at all. In fact, I did a little search and didn't see any. But they have popped up everywhere now, and for good reason. They're cheap, you know, you can get plants coming out the top of them, they're easy to set up, and they're just really quite fun all-round sort of tanks. You can get them in a wide array of sizes as well. So yeah, there are tons of options for you guys to look at now. Now there's two things you need to decide first of all. One, what kind of fish do you want? Do you want little fish? Do you want big fish? Big fish, big tank, obviously, but you know, you still need a decent sized tank for a predator fish. No smaller than 4 foot really, unless it's a baby and it's growing out. And number two, cost. Like, what's your budget? Predator fish don't tend to want loads of hardscape and all that, so that might be an option. But if you want a fully scaped tank and you don't have a massive budget, then you basically want to be going for a 60 centimeter, 100 litre sort of tank. That's going to be ideal. It's not going to break the bank, and you can do a really good setup for a low cost. Well, relatively low cost. At the end of the day, having an aquarium is a luxury, let's face it. So it's never going to be cheap, but it can be brought down in price by choosing some sensible options. But then when it comes down to it, what better thing than to save up for and spend a little bit of cash on? You're going to get rewarded for it. It's going to keep you occupied. You're going to start a big hobby, and who knows, you could end up with a YouTube channel and a shed in your garden full of tanks.